Well, the weekend has come to a close, but we do not end things here from there. For today, we of course got three reviews from two different promotions. The first two are from the latest from New Japan Pro Wrestling with Wrestling RedZone in Hiroshima that took place recently on Saturday, and of course, we have the latest with Road to Wrestling Dontaku. As you know, certain matches are part of the preliminaries that will take place later on. So we'll follow up on that. And then finally, as you know, TNA has their latest pay per view, of course, Rebellion, featuring, of course, the Ultimate X, having, of course, the X Division title defended. Then we have, of course, the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team belts, the International Championship, the Knockouts, and of course, the World title. So we will see if there's any title exchanges. But as always, we will be capping up our episode with a very, very, very short news updates. So buckle up. So let's get started with another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Lead It Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the pleasantries. It's time to rock and roll. So let's begin with one of the two events from New Japan Pro Wrestling with Wrestling RedZone in Hiroshima. All right, New Japan Pro Wrestling with Wrestling RedZone in Hiroshima. This took place this past Saturday on the 26th of April. Now, we open up with, of course, with Young Lion action. Of course, we have Daiki Nagai and Katsuya Murashima. Now, of course, many of you guys who follow the Young Lions, normally in the past, they have them part of the pre-show or dark show, whatever they do. But they decided to put them in a main card for this particular day, which is interesting. Now, when it comes to Young Lions, many of you know that there are times they either finish the match by time limit draw, but we do see once in a while one pick up the win or the other. So that's always been the case, but they are in fact learn in the ring, but they do become rivals in every aspect due to the fact they're trying to prove something. But in this case, the person who walked out with the victory using the Boston Crab is none other than Katsuya Murashima onto Daiki and and just like that, he just tapped out. Next match, we have an interesting team up. We have Yo, Master Wato, Bolton Oleg, Toroyano, and Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on TMDK, Hartley Jackson, Rohi Oiwa, Kotsu Fujita, Robbie Eagles, and Zack Sabre Jr. So it's interesting of a team up. Now, many of you know this, Yo and Master Wato are in fact chasing the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team belts, which currently is in the possession by Robbie Eagles and Kosa Fujita. So you can consider this match a preliminary. But the one thing I like about this match is Bolton Oleg. Many of you may ask this, he is impressive. But not to mention what was more impressive, he had to pick up Hartley Jackson, who is a big dude. And he was able to pull off the win when he applied a kamikaze. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he and his team won. So basically, the momentum goes to Wato and Yo for their preliminary match. So we'll see what happens down the road with Ichiban Sweet Boys, our current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. Now, of course, as you know, the war between both House of Torture, or should I call them the House of Losers, taking on the Bullet Club War Dogs. So we have, of course, Kanemaru and Sho, of course, these scumbags, taking on, of course, Ishimori and Clark Connors. Now, when it comes to the House of Torture, many of you know they like to cheat their way through, thinking they're tough. I mean, like I said, they're a bunch of losers. That's what they are. They like to cheat. However, of course, Kanemaru was able to pick up the win, thanks, of course, with exposing the turnbuckle onto Clark Connors, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, pick up the win. But I'm sure the Bullet Club War Dogs will get a one up against these losers. Trust me, they will. Now, our next match, we have the United Empire, G8 Jacob Austin Young, Francisco Ikera, and Templario taking on Ryusuke Taguchi, El Fantasmo, and El Desperado. Now, this match is also a preliminary match. As you may know, Templario issued the challenge against El Desperado for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. So that's one of those matches where, okay, who will get the momentum going into their big match? And I think that's a good, tough one. So, however, it was in fact El Fantasmo with the QRO onto, of course, Jacob Austin Young, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, one up for El Fantasmo and for his team. So basically, El Desperado does have the momentum on this one. So we'll see what happens with Templario. Next up, we have Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura, which is very interesting that they team up. They face against Lij, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. Now, however, this is a very unusual team up. For those who don't know, Shota Umino will be going up head to head against Shingo, while Yuya Uemura will be challenging Yota Tsuji for the IWGP Global Championship. So, but those who know this about Yuya and Shota, I mean, Yoda, and of course Yuya, they in fact are from the same class together until they went on their separate excursions. Um, Suji ended up in the UK with Ref Pro, while Uemura ended up, going um, to the LA dojo. So that sets it up. So, however, who was going to have the momentum on this one? Well, Shingo was the one who built the momentum when he applied the catcher bomber onto Umino, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, momentum goes to Lij, just like that. Next up, as you know, we continue with the war between House of Torture, or should I say House of Losers, and the War Dogs. Sonata and Ren Narita, along with Evil, take on Drilla Maloney, Ghetto, and David Finlay. Now, of course, as you probably know, when it comes to the House of Losers, they like to cheat as always. Now, one of the things they like to do, of course, is to knock out the referee, and dumbass Evil decides to call his buddies. Hey, come on, guys, help us out. Let's win this match. Just like that. Not to mention, effing Dick Togo showed up again with the Garrote. And then Yujiro showed up too, basically costing everything to Finley. I mean, Finley had all the balls in the world to defeat Evil if it wasn't for Dick and Yujiro. And just like that, Evil applied everything is evil onto them. And you know that this war is far from over, because there's going to be a special cage match between these two guys. And Evil thinks that, oh, they have the tough. Come on, guys. The War Dogs won the last time when they had the steel cage. It's their hard yard. Let's see how much cowards the House of Losers are. Next up, we had a very interesting tag team match. We have Lij, Hiromu, and Tetsuya Naito. They face against a very interesting combination of a makeshift team, Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii. It's interesting that these two teamed up, which I did not expect, and I'm sure many of you did not expect either. I mean, Ishii wasn't too soft and warm with, of course, Taichi, which was very unusual. But somehow, some way, they were able to coexist. But not only that, the biggest upset, Taichi pinned Naito with the Black Mephisto, and just like that, one, two, three, it's done. I mean, wow, that's a fantastic match. Now, our main event, this one is for the IWGP Tag Team belts that became vacant. For those who remember, recently there was a tag team match for these belts. It was Naito and Hiromu, who were the champions at the time, facing off the United Empire, consistent of Cal Newman and Jeff Cobb. But however, due to the circumstances, Jeff Cobb, as you know, officially left New Japan, and these titles were vacant. And now, it seems former tag champions, uh, Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto, better known as Bishamon, decided to be the team that would reclaim these belts, but they face against Cal Newman, and his partner of his choice is the great old dumbass, of course, Great Khan. So basically, that's how it is. I mean, we know Bishamon has done the impossible many times when it comes to these tag team belts. Not to mention two back-to-back wins as tag league winners. That's one of the things that plays out. But however, Cal Newman was able to pick up the win on Yoshihashi with the Princess Curse, and just like that, one, two, three, brand new tag champions. However, you probably can guess that it doesn't go end that way, because apparently we just got brand new challengers, and the challengers are, of course, surprise, surprise, Taichi and Hiromu and Tomohiro Ishii, which was whoa. I did not see that one coming. But nonetheless, I can't wait to see it. So we'll see how things will roll up for that. But as of right now, we are done with this one. So let's move on to the next New Japan show, Road to Wrestling Dontaku. Okay, we continue with more with New Japan Pro Wrestling. This time we are in Road to Wrestling Dontaku. Now, this is day 6 for anybody to ask. Now, day 1 through 5 were, of course, unavailable on their website due to the fact that those shows were mostly house shows. And this took place recently at the K, KDDI Ishin Hall. I don't know where that is, but yes. This is their latest show that just came out. Now, we opened up with an interesting tag team match. Both young lions, Daiki and Nagai and Katsuya Murashima, they take on, of course, what's his name? Masatori Yasuda, who is also a young lion, but he teams up with, of course, Ryusuke Taguchi. So it's interesting that you have two young lions on one side, and then you have an experienced wrestler and another young lion. But a part of me thought this match was going to go with both Nagai and Murashima for obvious reasons, because um, Yasuda is the latest young lion that made his debut. So I thought, in my perspective, just by watching this, it was going to go to them because they had a much better advantage. But it was, of course, Taguchi that picked up the win when he applied an ankle lock onto Nagai. I would have assumed he would have used the Boston Crab, but nope, it was an ankle lock instead. So it was very unusual, but that's how it got the job done. Now, our next match, we have Yado and El Fantasmo teaming up. They take on the United Empire's Francisco Akira and Great Khan. Now, of course, I'm sure El Fantasmo has not forgotten the loss that he suffered in the hands of Great Khan, losing the New Japan World Television title, which obviously was something I'm sure that will not go unscathed for that. So basically, you can see that coming. But however, this match ended with Francisco Akira applying the fireball on Yado, and just like that, one, two, three, United Empire picked up the win. Our next match, we have the members of Just Four Guys, Taichi, Taka Michinoku, and Yuya Uemura teaming up with Tomohiro Ishii. Uh, who else? Tomohiro Ishii and Shota Umino, they take on LIJ, all 5 members. Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. Now, as I said, there is a preliminary match for these two. As you know, Shota Umino will go head to head against Shingo Takagi, and of course, Yuya Uemura is set to challenge for the IWGP Global Championship against Yota Tsuji. So that kind of sets it up right there. But however, Taichi once again picked up 2 wins back to back, and this time he put a submission onto Bushi, and just like that, Bushi tapped out, giving the win for him and his team. So it's kind of interesting to see that now he is stepping up his game a bit. But the real question is, they need to build more momentum in order to win the tag team belts for him and Ishii. Now, our next match, as you know, we continue with the war between House of Losers and the War Dogs. Well, originally we have Kanemaru, Sho, and Sanada and Ren Narita taking on Maloney, Connors, Ishimori, and Kid. However, when it comes to this, of course, House of Torture would try to play dirty. The evil, Yujiro, and everybody else showed up, and they got themselves disqualified, giving the match to the War Dogs. However, of course, Gabe Kidd was not gonna let this one happen. Of course, everybody from the War Dogs showed up because they were not gonna let this one go unscathed. So of course, they restarted the match, so all hands on deck from both sides. But however, this match ended with, of course, with Dick being involved, being involved, and then of course, Yujiro Takahashi picked up the win by pinning Geto, and just like that, it was completely over. So so House of Torture picked up the win. But this war between the War Dogs and House of Losers will continue on. Next up, we have Yo, Master Walter, Bolton Oleg, Todo Yano, and Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on TMDK again. So basically, this is another moment. However, I have to say, guys, the old saying goes, lightning doesn't strike twice. Well, this match kind of did again. Now remember, this match is another preliminary match because I mentioned Yo and Master Wato are the challengers for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team belts that are in the possession of Robbie Eagles and Kosa Fujita. So that kind of plays out in its way. However, like I said before, lightning doesn't strike twice. Well, this one did because once again, Bolton Oleg picked up the win, but this time he did it again with Hartley Jackson in the Kamikaze, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, he win. So that means Wato and Master Wato got the momentum in this match. Now for our main event, we have the other members of the United Empire, Jacob Austin Young, Templario, and Cal Newman taking on El Desperado, along with Bishiman, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto. Now this is also another preliminary match. Now I mentioned, Templario issued a challenge for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against El Desperado. And I failed to mention this on the last review, that Cal Newman issued the challenge against Hiroki Goto for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So this is a double preliminary match. So the momentum has to be coming from one of these two teams. However, this match ended with, of course, on Shoto to Jacob Austin Young, but it was Yoshihashi who picked up the win. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, Bishiman and El Desperado picked up the win. So basically, the momentum goes to them. So we'll see what happens when we get to Wrestling Dontaku. So as of right now, we are officially done with New Japan. Let's move on with our last review, TNA Rebellion. Okay, our final review, TNA. As you know, we had their latest, one of their bigger pay-per-view shows, Rebellion. It took place in LA. So it starts up with the X Division Championship on the line, but in the Ultimate X. Now, for those who are new to this channel, if you're not familiarized with the Ultimate X, let me explain to you. Now, you guys are familiarized with the ladder match when you have a championship. All you have to do is pull the belt down from it. However, this one, the Ultimate X, is a bit more tricky. You see, there's like a structure that is the shape of an X using ropes. So the idea is for you to climb up the structure, try to get across with the ropes, like swinging around, get to the X Division title and pull it down. But the catch is, you have to drop down to the mat with both feet touched. So that's the game. So Moose, in the other hand, who is the X Division champion, has to defend his belt against 5 others. We have Matt Cardona, Casey Navarro, Sidney Akeem, Leon Slater, and Hijo del Vikingo. So yeah, so basically he had to go through 5 people. Now, the one thing that really stuck up is Moose. Basically, those who don't know, Moose is not very, how do I say, light or agile to climb, but you can see the others most likely. Now, the match kind of ended where Leon Slater pulled the rope down, but he did not have the tenacity to get down. I don't know if he might have misunderstood the rules or what, but Moose was the one with the belt on with the belt, and just like that, he just retained the championship. Now, our next match, we have the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team belts in a 4-way match. Heather and Ash by Elegance, this were ended up in a 4-way match with Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Joe the Threat versus Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley versus the Meta Girls, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. Now, this was a match, of course, that kind of happened on the fly back I think was it a week ago from Thursday, where of course Heather decided kind of got put in the pressure by everybody, and of course Ash was not happy. But of course there was going to be moments in this match where either that little Chihuahua or the newest edition of the whole elegance crap, Maggie Lee, decided to show up and help out, and of course it was Ash who picked up the win when she applied a swanton onto Jody Thread to retain the belt. So now they can celebrate, but the real question is, will there be any eruptions? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Our next match is the System versus a very unique team. As you know, the System has been causing nothing but problems. Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Moose team up to take on Ace Austin and the Rascals. But they did not come alone. They brought in someone who they idolize, and that is, of course, Sean Waltman, or many of you may know him from WWE as X-Pac, or the 1-2-3 Kid, or as WCW 6-Pac. So basically, he was in their corner. Now, of course, there is one factor in this match. While, of course, the Rascals and Ace Austin had Sean Waltman in their corner, well, the System had Alicia. So, of course, Alicia was going to get involved one way or the other. But luckily, she made one big mistake. She ended up on the X Factor by Sean Waltman, so that's the biggest mistake. But luckily, it was Zach Wentz who picked up the win when he applied the UFO cutter on Moose, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. However, there was some things that people mentioned. Zach was the one who pinned Moose. There is the possibility he could cash in an opportunity for the X Division title. Remember, Moose is the current TNA X Division champion, so we could eventually see that happen. We just don't know. Now, Moose has not cashed in option C. He felt there was no need. He wants to make the X Division, of course, the X Division title more prestige than the world title. But we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match is for the TNA International Championship. Now, if those who remember clearly, Steve Maclin was involved in a 3-way match or in a series of tournaments in 3 ways to enter to get this title. This was a title that was in fact activated by none other than the Director of Authority, Santino Marella, and Steve Maclin won by defeating, of course, AJ Francis and Eric Young. But, however, this match ended up, of course, being with Eric Young. However, of course, Eric Young had a Northern Armory to get involved. And then, of course, they were kicked out. But it was, of course, Steve Maclin who picked up the win by a pinfall. And just like that, 1, 2, 3 was over. He retained the belt. But unfortunately, Steve Maclin didn't get to celebrate until he was, in fact, brutally attacked by Eric Young and the rest of the Northern Armory. So basically, we'll see where that goes. Now, this next match is a Falls Count Anywhere match, Mustafa Ali versus Mike Santana. Now, ever since Mustafa Ali made his return to TNA, his next goal is to obtain the TNA World Title. However, Mike Santana also has his sights set on that belt. But, of course, Mike Santana thinks, no, Mustafa Ali doesn't think that Mike Santana has any right for the title. But Tommy Dreamer believes he does have a right because he is a locker room leader. But Mustafa doesn't think that. So he decides to attack his character, a former alcoholic who, of course, is sober, trying to prove his point that he will never be that guy. And guys like him don't deserve happiness. So he's been attacking not only him, but also, of course, people who suffered the same kind of addiction as he did in the past. And now in this match, it's Falls Count Anywhere. Mustafa Ali, I did mention, and he probably didn't think this was going to happen, that Mustafa maybe tried to run away from Mike Santana, but he ended up in this match one way or the other thanks to Santino Marella. But of course, when it comes to Falls Count Anywhere, anything goes. You can use whatever weaponry goes out. And not to mention, even the effing cabinet showed up. The Good Brother, the Good Hands, Jason Hodge and John Skyler, they thought they had this match won when they put Santana through a table thanks to Mustafa on a 450. But however, Mike Santana took matters in his own hands and decided to handcuff the idiots of the Good Hands and just make them watch. However, Tasha Steele showed up, but she ended up being power bombed by Mike Santana through a table, leveling off the playing fields. But it only took the spin the block to take out Mustafa Ali. So the real question that we ask ourselves, is this really over between Santana and Mustafa Ali? Because we know that Mike Santana has one goal in mind, and that is the TNA World Title. But will Mustafa let that go? I don't know. That is something we don't know until we'll find out this coming Thursday on TNA. Now, we had a very interesting interview during the Inside of the Ring. Gia Miller conducted an interview with someone many of you may know, former WWE superstar Indy Hartwell. Now, we haven't heard anything yet. We know Indy Hartwell has been participating recently in the independents. But now it's been confirmed that she is now signed with TNA. So now we get to see what she's going to do in the TNA Knockouts division. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she makes a play for the TNA Knockouts World Title or possibly team up with someone for the tag team belts. That's something we'll probably have to wait and see. Our next match, this is one of the top 3 belts. We have the TNA Knockouts World Title, Tessa Blanchard versus Masha Slamovich. Now, this match came around when Tessa Blanchard, of course, made her return to stake the claim that this is her division, despite the fact that she's been gone for almost 5 years. So basically, people say, how can she stake her claim? Of course, Jordynne Grace redefined the Knockouts division when she was there, and of course, Masha's doing the same thing. So now it's like she is gunning to reclaim what she felt is hers, not nobody else's. But the real question is, how will Masha will deal with it? I mean, Tessa would do whatever it takes to claim what's rightfully hers. I mean, she was able to defeat Jordynne Grace, and now Masha has to deal with her. But Masha was able to overcome it when she applied, of course, the armbar, and just like that, she had no choice but to tap, and Masha Slamovich retained the TNA Knockouts World Title. Next up, we have the TNA World Tag Team belts. The Meneth brothers, Nick and Ryan, take on the Hardys, Matt and Jeff. Now, of course, this thing dates back all the way to Sacrifice. We all saw what happened. Nick Meneth attacked Matt Hardy with the Danger Zone to set up a point. So there's been like a feud between the Hardys and the Meneths. And as you all saw this past Thursday, the Meneth brothers went straight, of course, to the Hardy compound to deal with the Hardys. But unfortunately, the Meneth brothers took the TNA tag team belts with them. However, Mackenzie Mitchell made it clear that they were not the tag team champions that the Hardys were. Now, of course, many of us might have thought the Hardys would have overcome this match, but unfortunately, there was a low blow that was made by Nick Meneth to Jeff, and then, of course, there was a danger zone that was applied to Jeff by Nick, but, of course, Ryan Meneth pinned Jeff, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new tag champions, just like that, which was a highway robbery match, and I think many of you would agree with that. But that's how it ended right there. So we'll see what happens on Thursday. But for right now, let's move on to our last and final match, which is the main event, the TNA World Championship. Frankie Kazarian versus Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry. Now, ever since Joe Hendry became the TNA World Champion, well, as you know, he's been targeted by various people. The first, of course, is the so-called King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian. Now, those who know, Frankie Kazarian won this thing called the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match, and he had the trophy, so he can call his shot at any championship that he wants at any time, if anywhere. And of course, it's no secret that he probably wants the TNA World Title, and he cashed in his opportunity the moment Joe Hendry, of course, injured his shoulder. But, however, prior before that injury, Joe Hendry made a call, a declaration that he said that he's willing to defend the championship against anybody from any company. And then when Frankie Kazarian called the shot, someone answered the call that Joe Hendry put out, and that is none other former TNA superstar, current NXT star Ethan Page. So of course Frankie Kazarian was not gonna like it. I mean, you probably would say, "No way, fool! This is my time. That's no way. I'm not gonna let you steal my moment." But of course, the match ended in a three-way. But however, the biggest problem is Joe Hendry, how his shoulder has been. Now, this is the same shoulder that he uses to apply the standing ovation, which is his finisher, and that's exactly what that was happening. But of course, it's no secret that Frank Kazarian thought this would be a perfect move. But however, Joe Hendry was able to overcome it. First, he took out Frank Kazarian by putting him through a table, and just like that, it was done, leaving him and Ethan Page. And of course, while that happened, it was the standing ovation by Joe Hendry that allowed him to pick up the win, and just like that, to retain the championship. 1, 2, 3, it was over. But the real question is this really over? Now, of course, Frankie Kazarian, I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to make another play. But only time will tell when that happens. But as of right now, we'll end things here with TNA, and we'll see what happens on Thursday. So let's move on to our last and final thing, which is going to be short news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. As I said before, this is a very short one for all of you. So let's begin as always with the upcoming events, and we only have one. Now, as you know, we're getting closer now to the upcoming NWA event, the Crockett Cup, which is the tag team tournament match that takes place every year. However, it was announced that on the Crockett Cup, we have two new debuts making, of course, their official NWA debut. The first one is, of course, former TNA superstar and former MLW superstar Alex Hammerstone. So he'll be making his NWA debut at the Crockett Cup on that very day, on the 17th of May. However, he's not the only one. A pair of sisters will also be making their NWA debut at the Crockett Cup, and that is, of course, the Tongan twins. So yes, so basically that's pretty much what we have for that. Two debuts taking place in the same day at the Crockett Cup by the National Wrestling Alliance. So stay tuned for that. Now, finally, for our developments, recently, as you all know, Risa Sera, as we know already, I put this on the separate news updates, that she'll be retiring at the start of 2026. But recently, it was announced that she defeated Aruka Omasaki to retain, of course, the Diana World Championship at their event recently. So basically, she is still the champion. We don't know when she'll drop it. I'm sure this is going to go a little longer as we get closer to the upcoming day of her retirement. So I'll stay tuned for more of that. So I think that's pretty much it what we have. So as of right now, let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I haven't decided yet, but I am considering either doing one or two review episode. There's basically there's some errands I might have to do during the day, and I may not be able to do so properly, but we'll see. The two reviews I'm planning to do, well, one is the top that I definitely want to do is Stardom with the All-Star Queendom, which is the recent show, and I can't wait to do that. And the other one is, of course, the much recent with Marigold. So we'll see how things will roll up. So, like I said, priority is Stardom, but if I do get a chance, I'll do, of course, Marigold. But as of right now, that's pretty much it what we have. So we'll leave things as it is as we speak. So, until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.